Hey, it's Brian with the Daily News Autos. This is the 2017 Honda Civic Hatchback Sport. Now for the 10th generation Civic, Honda's made their most popular car better than ever. It's better to drive, it's better to look at, and for the first time in a long time, they've given you a hatchback option. So I want to take it out, shake it down, and see if adding a liftback makes this Civic even more to write home about. Depending on who you are, one look at the new Civic hatchback might engender a wow, or maybe even a yikes. But if there's one thing we can all agree on, Honda's new design language for the 10th generation Civic is definitely polarizing. I happen to fall on the side that finds this new design attractive, but as it stands, the sport trim adds a whole lot of extra styling to a car that I'm not so sure needed it. It does look cool in red though. Big fake air intakes, black body cladding and fascia accents, and slick 18-inch wheels give this car the illusion of hardcore performance, but it's mostly a ruse. Inside, the theme continues, and while the sport model I tested was fairly sparsely equipped, there's no denying a handsome interior design when I see one. The dashboard, door panels, and fabric strips in the seats are adorned with a faux carbon pattern, and the largely digital gauge cluster gets red accents instead of blue on other Civics. The fit and finish, though, leaves a lot to be desired, especially in the hollow feeling doors, but the cabin is comfortable, spacious, and easy to see out of. Considering I'm not a big fan of Honda's top-tier infotainment system in the slightest, I was perfectly happy with knobs and buttons and a good old radio, especially considering Bluetooth phone connectivity is available too. Also, this Honda packs one of the smartest features I've ever found in a manual car: automatic brake hold. It saved me from rolling backwards into a particularly zealous cab when taking off on a hill once or twice, so thank you for that, Honda engineers. Of course, I'd be remiss to talk about the interior of a hatchback without mentioning cargo space. Thankfully, this Honda pulls it off nicely, with almost 10 more cubic feet of space behind the rear seats than the sedan version, and up to 46.2 cubic feet with the seats folded relatively flat. Of course, the real big story with the 10th generation Civic is that it's no longer fairly miserable to drive, as its last few predecessors were. With a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder under the hood, soon to be found basically across the Honda lineup, the sport trim Civic hatch makes 180 horsepower and 177 pound-feet of torque. That decent amount of grunt is routed to the front wheels through a 6-speed manual gearbox or optional continuously variable transmission. Shifts are precise, notchy, and have a short throw, and the clutch travel is light and communicative. If you're careful about where you keep the engine's RPM level, the little boosted engine will provide plenty of grunt in the mid-RPM range, and then peak again towards the top of each gear. The steering is heavier than most, allowing for easy darting in and out of corners, and New York traffic for that matter. And the chassis exhibits no body roll whatsoever, even allowing you to play a little bit in the corners if you so choose. The ride is comfortable and forgiving, but gets firmer in the corners without having to mess with any driving modes. If the base hatchback is this competent, I can't wait to see how the SI and Type R versions get on. Perhaps the most impressive part of the Civic Hatchback Sport, though, was the value. This car delivers immense fun in the driving department, and a modern engine and styling for a price of almost exactly $23,000, not to mention the cargo space of a subcompact crossover. Sure, you may miss the option to have Apple CarPlay or leather seats, but for that price, this Honda starts to make a lot of sense. So, adding a hatchback to the Civic actually does change its character quite a bit. It's the one that I'd have between the sedan, the coupe, and this. But I'll be waiting around for the SI or Type R models to make sure that this thing goes just as good as it looks. Well, that's all for now. I'm Brian with the Daily News Autos, and we'll see you next time.